Hi again. Whoops, that was a bit of a fiasco yesterday. I filmed the whole episode, and you know how it goes when something goes wrong, you feel like this is the best you've ever recorded. Well, the thing is, what happened was that my microphone, which has to be charged, it just died and it doesn't tell me anything when it does. So it doesn't say, hey, warning, or anything like that. So, well, it is what it is. I was telling you about the hat. The pattern will come out soon. It will be called Trail Runner. And I do have a little bit of fine tuning to do, so I will have to knit at least one or two more hats. But what the story that I meant to tell you was that it was so exciting that my daughter's friend's hat was so perfect that it fitted her style so much and her color theme. No, that's not a thing that you say. But what she wears only red and black, so it was perfect in that regard. And then she had this jacket, and you saw it fitted the jacket absolutely perfectly. So good on that, and she loved it, and she wore it the whole day. So that's good. And I brought the latest version that I've started, and I put it in this bag, which is new, and it was a very sweet Christmas present from a friend. And the what makes it so special is I really think that this is hand woven fabric. So thank you for that. I love it. And it's just so perfect because my two yarn balls are fit in here. And while before I used Zia Wool's Big and Bulky for all other three hats that I've made. This one I thought I'd try something different, and I hold these two yarns together, and nothing that I need to tell you because one is over dyed and the other one I don't even know that it's available on a wider spectrum because I bought it from them in Taos at the Wool Festival. But this is where I am right now. I'm knitting the medium size, and the yarn is almost a little bit too thin for my needle size. So you can see it's kind of a little bit of an airier fabric. You may see my hands behind. But it might be good because it's supposed to be a gift for one of Fiona's friends. So she's in California. She doesn't need anything super duper warm. So hopefully she likes it. And I'm actually right now looking into adding some stripes in the middle. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I'm not sure. I will take some pictures if the hat is gone the next time I record. So this is also in the works. I knitted on that last night, but one thing that's super important for me to tell you, if you are participating in the blanket cal where we made a square a day in December, today is the 31st, so I'm already done with my square. And if you have done that, please enter what you've done. Enter your blanket, show your blanket in the Zia Wools group on Ravelry, post a picture or yeah, whatever, and then I will draw a winner from that thread in the Ravelry group for the next podcast episode. And I wanted to show you my blankets. I'm going to move my chair back a little bit so I can show you better. So for the longest time, I've knitted 2 squares a day. On my sock memory blanket, this one which I'm making with 3mm needles and one strand of fingering yarn I cast on. Start every square with 49 stitches. And but if you see all the little paper tags and little dangly things, those are all the squares that I have done to this day, and it ends with number 21. I was just a little bit burned out. I had a lot to do before Christmas, and I shouldn't say I was burned out because I actually enjoyed it. Kind of like being on it and feeling like I get this done. But then there were other things that had to be finished, and so I thought that's okay. I'm going to focus on one blanket, and the one that I focused on was the Song Song blanket. That's the one where I double the yarn, fingering yarn, and one strand is a commercial fingering yarn and the other one is a hand-dyed fingering yarn. And I started off with 22 squares, and I've done all my 31 for December, so do the math and you can tell how happy I am. I need to see where the picture is. So again, everything that's new is marked with a little tag, and I am super happy. So I'm gonna come closer. And the Song Song blanket was written down by me. I talked about this before. It's 5.5 millimeter needles, and you hold your yarn double, and I am starting every square with 60-30 stitches. I had to think for a moment, sorry. So it's just a quick project, but I need to tell you, I am very surprised about how little yarn I have used. Kind of like when I feel like, oh, this was a full box, and I feel like, what's missing? Can I even tell? I don't know. Yeah, so I've kept my yarns ready to grab something in these two next to me, hand dyed and commercial. And then occasionally I find things like this in the box where I'm like, Doug, what are you thinking? 10 stitches, 20 stitches. Come on. You have boxes and boxes of yarn. We don't need to go that far. Next. So a big chunk of my knitting time went into the blankets. You can imagine, for the small squares, even though they're so tiny, it still takes me about 50 to 50 minutes to an hour per square, because then you glance at your phone in between, you turn on a podcast in between, whatever, you get yourself a drink of water, whatever you do in between, and you use up an hour for a square. And then, like real time. And then the other one also, it takes me about 1.5 hours per square. But the fabric that I'm getting is obviously very different also. And what else do I need to tell you? Actually, nothing. Make one. I love it. It's just so thick and squishy and so fun to see how your colors play together. You never know. Yeah, I really enjoy it. So what else? I told you about another possible gift idea. Not possible. I really had a plan. And it's for my daughter and her friends. I wanted to make a bracelet that I crochet, where I crochet little granny squares or something like that. And I didn't start. Ran out of time. But I found this, which was up on this pin board, has been there for ages, because when I made this, I just was super in love with the color combination, which is so unexpectedly gorgeous in how these colors work out together. I just love it. And I think that's why I never did anything with it. I cannot recall if I wanted to do something with it. But when I glanced at it the other day, I thought, oh, wow, this is really actually how I would like the bracelets to be, just with smaller squares, of course, because this yarn is a little fatter. But I thought I'd show you because then you get the idea, even though I'm not decided on the pattern. This is the simple granny square, and I have so many other, I have nice books with other patterns, so I may use something else. I'm not decided yet, as usual. I will tell you. I have also, I've done some dyeing, and it's been a little while, but I brought just one of the skeins, or it's already wound up, into a ball of yarn. It's a lace yarn. I always wind these. It's a, I don't know if this is interesting for you, but it's a non-superwash yarn, and it gets, I move it a lot in the dye bath, and it gets quite messy. So all of these are being wound when they go in the shop, and it's a 100% lace yarn, a merino, and it has about a yardage of about 1,050 yards roughly. And I once made a shawl for my mother, but I've never knitted anything for myself. And I thought I want a light blue, kind of with a hint of turquoise or something, for myself to make the shawl that I already told you about in another episode that I found as a free pattern on Ravelry, where I fell so in love hard with it. Isn't it stunning and gorgeous? I just love this. So I actually dyed two of these lace yarns, and I decided this is the one that I want to use. But of course, right now I have my daughter at home. We're soon gonna start, and I mean in January we're gonna take her back to college, to California, and it's just gonna be, I need a little more peace and quiet. That's what I meant to say. A little more calm to be able to tackle these, or to feel comfortable to tackle this. I am happily knitting away on my Bubbles of Joy. Even though it hasn't grown too much, it doesn't really show very much when I show you my progress on the shawl. This is how it looks like. Actually, it's going to be like this, I believe. And I was here last time, and I just added another one because it marks my right side, and because it's so cute. Look at this little guy. So that's the Bubbles of Joy, and I really want to get, I can't wait to get to the pattern section. It's going to be so fun, because then you're adding different colors, and a lot is going on, which is going to, while right now it's kind of like very, very simple garter with your edge stuff. And I'm using 3.5 millimeter needles. The yarn, gosh, now I can't remember the name yet again, but I think it's called Yakima by Plymouth. This one and one of the other balls of yarn that I will use for it. I showed you last time all my color choices, and of course you're going to see them again at some other point. My local knitting friend of mine, Karen, she made two of this in really stunning color combinations. I loved them both so much that I thought I have to make one for myself. And then I don't need a new project. I have the neon yellow sweater that's missing the sleeves that I really would love to get done soon to be able to wear it in winter. Then I have my beautiful rattlesnake sweater that I haven't touched, but I was in the garage the other day and I had that shawl in my head. I told you about too, where it's a combination of slip stitches and a lace pattern, which I loved so much when I saw those two shawls. And I thought that, and then I was outside. I think I was really just getting something from the garage fridge, maybe milk or something. And then I glance up there because there's my burners for dyeing, and I have this wall of shelves above it. And on the very top are my leftover yarns, the handspun, and let me think, what else? Mohair, which I hardly ever use, as you know. The mohair, the handspun leftovers. Oh, yeah, leftovers from projects, sweaters, and whatnot. And the last box is lace yarn. And the lace yarn, I don't own a lot of lace yarn because I dye lace yarn and I can grab it anytime, use my own, but then again, sometimes there is lace yarn purchased for the stash and that lives up there. So I glance up there and I'm like, oh, maybe I should check up there what's in there if I can use it for one of those shawls. Long story short, I found some beautiful treasures and I started on the Cascadial wrap, which is this one. Ah, I tell you, gorgeous. I have chosen this as my main color, which is a Sweet Georgia yarn, and you may think that it looks very much like the one that I started off with, the Bubbles of Joy, but next to each other this is a lot more green, where this is a lot more tealish with some lime green undertones. It's probably something that was over dyed. I mean, purposely, of course, not because anything was wrong with it. And the funny thing is, I did remember that it was Sweet Georgia, but I didn't remember that it was 50-50 merino and silk, that it had such a high silk content. And also, at some point, I started noting where I got the yarn, and this was so fun to see that I got this in Paris in 5 years ago at La Bien-Aimée. Yeah, that was fun. So they carry great. I thought it was a little bit crazy to buy Canadian yarn in Paris and then to drag it back. Whatever. I really thought it was stunning. Now the other yarns I grabbed were these two. And I have been hoarding one colorway, I think it was this one, for a very long time. And then I think it was last year or this spring where our yarn store marked all of these down and I bought two more. So I have two of this and two of this. And this is a True Gradient. I'm not sure what they do and how they do it, but it's buttery soft. It's absolutely stunning. And if you ever come upon these, you will see that all of these colors are just amazing. This is an alpaca silk blend. Where is it? 20% silk. Yeah, it just says alpaca. So now I started my shawl, but I'm already a little bit hesitant. I've encountered one little problem. So I was head over heels with this color combination. I ended up deciding against this one. So I will only use these two, but here's the deal. This has only 750 yards, 750-ish. I should put on my glasses. Not pretend I can read this. Well, 765. So the shawl is supposed to, it needs 2 skeins of the main color. Oh, I should read how much is used actually. I'm going to do a little bit of research on Ravelry, but I got worried at some point that maybe my yardage is not enough if I would really totally need the 800 yards, the 2 skeins of 400, which in my case are one skein of lace yarn of 765. And the other thing is that I'm using the correct needle size that is required. However, the pattern says fingering yarn. And I'm such a tight knitter, so I wanted to go down a needle size, and I didn't have a sharp 3mm needle, so I decided to go indeed with a 3.25 millimeters, which by chance I had. I don't have many of these in between sizes, so I started with this one, and now I apologize. I hear the timer. I'm baking something, so I'm going to have to take a tiny break, and I'll be back in a moment to make sure that my cake doesn't burn. I'm back. It looks good, and the house smells delicious. It's a recipe that I got from my mom. It's one of those, I should have brought it for you, but it's one of those round, is it a pie? Is it a cake? No, it's not a cake because it's not creamy. It has chocolate in it. It has nuts in it, hazelnuts actually. And I threw in some extra pecans, and I doubled the amount of the chocolate chips. It asks for chocolate chips, and what I always do is I scrape from a bar of chocolate. You don't want to hear about that, right? I'm making you super hungry for something sweet and delicious. So, but well, my house smells really good, and I think it's going to be fine. Back to the Cascadial wrap. So here is my dilemma. I have over 100 stitches. I'm saying roughly 120, and you can easily adjust the size of the shawl. And if I show you about half of it, that's very wide because it's got to be blocked. So now, of course, it's not going to be this wide because it's going to be at an angle, so it loses a little bit of the width because it's going to be tilted, right? You know what I mean. So I'm thinking I don't want to burn myself out for one with over 100, with roughly 120 stitches with this fine, delicate yarn, and then come to a point where the shawl is going to be shorter than I would like, but at the same time, because I run out of yarn, that shouldn't be a problem. But I'm thinking I will go back. I'm thinking I will rip back and adjust the width so I really can be sure that I don't run out of the beautiful Sweet Georgia yarn. And last night I kept going and kept going because I was so looking forward to introduce the new color. And of course it will be amazing, as you can imagine. I'm sure. Can you imagine? I'm just so in love with this combo. I can't wait to keep going, but I really think I how can I explain? It's very, the word tedious sounds negative, and I don't mean that, but it takes a lot of effort. It's not like you knit, of course, like a fast knit with your stockinette, or just a bigger needle and a heavier weight yarn. So it takes effort, and that's what I mean by I don't want to burn myself out and not get it done. But I that's why I thought it might be the perfect solution to reduce the stitch count, get a shawl that's maybe not quite that wide. And let me see in the pattern what she says how wide it's going to be like. And I don't, for shawls, I never do a gauge swatch. Nope, not ever going to happen. Oh, here it is. So the width would be 40 centimeters. That's a lot. 16 inches. I don't need that. See, there you go. I'm so bad at guessing. Do I have a... Thought I may have a tape measure up there, but I don't. So I would imagine that the regular width might be this wide, and so I'd reduce it to a stitch count just under 100 stitches, and she gives you options for that. She tells you what to do when you want to do that, and that's what I'm going to do. And I have now come to the end, and I think the next thing I'm going to do is that I will take a nap, because my cat woke me up way too early for New Year's Eve, because our son is going to spend the evening with us, hopefully, if it all works out, with his girlfriend, and I'm going to barbecue outside. I'm always the barbecue master, and then we're going to play games and maybe watch a movie, and yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And I know that some of you are most certainly waiting for the next Paper Talk episode, and I'm totally looking forward to that. I have a few new pens, I have a few new inks, I have a little bit to talk about that's paper related, for the fun of it and for the fun of writing. And so I would love to share that with you. But I also wanted to tell you that I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas or wonderful holidays with your celebration, whichever you do in your family. And I hope you have a great start into the new year. I know we're all excited and hoping that the new year is going to be bringing us a lot of changes for the better. I have to say, I am so incredibly deprived of a time with my friends, and I know my husband, I mean, me too, I love to travel too, but for my husband it's so hard that we can't really travel at this time. And so we're all kind of ready for a change, and hopefully 2021 is going to bring that for all of us. If you are, I hope you're all staying healthy and well, and if you're not, then I hope also that this is going to be, that you're going to be feeling a lot better very soon. And until we see each other again, or you see me again, I don't see you, sadly. I wish you happy knitting. Bye. Happy New Year.